The gray sky over Tontitown was barely beginning to lighten when Warden Felicia Morris discovered the body. It lay between the washers and dryers, unnaturally bent, like an abandoned doll. Felicia's scream echoed through the empty hallways of the St. River Women's Prison. Detective Zora Jallo arrived 40 minutes after the call. Monday mornings aren't the best time to be called to a murder scene, but crimes rarely happen on a convenient schedule. After overcoming all the checkpoints, she stepped into the laundry area. The room, flooded with harsh fluorescent light, hummed with running fans. "Didn't touch anything?" Zora asked, putting on latex gloves. "Just checked for a pulse," replied Warden Lawrence Wilson, a massive man with bushy gray eyebrows. The poor girl was already dead. Zora stepped closer. The victim was a young, dark-skinned woman, looking a little over 30. Thin face, long beaded pigtails that were now strewn across the floor and partially dyed a dark red. Multiple bruises, a split eyebrow, but worst of all, deep strangulation marks on her neck. "Her name is Neve Keita," Wilson said. 32 years old, served a 5-year sentence for prescription fraud. Former nurse. Zora pulled out a notebook and started taking notes. "Who found the body?" "Felicia Morris, morning shift warden. She came to check why the inmate hadn't returned to her cell after working in the laundry room." "Time of death?" "Tentatively between 4 and 5 in the morning," replied the prison doctor, who had already examined the body. "Judging by the temperature and rigor mortis." Zora looked around the room. The laundry room was a large room with 2 rows of industrial washing machines and dryers. There were baskets of dirty laundry in the far corner and shelves of detergent along the walls. Perfect place for a murder, isolated, noisy from running machinery. "Cameras?" she asked. Wilson grimaced. "Here's the problem. We have a weekly reboot of the surveillance servers. 20 minutes, 4:15 to 4:35 in the morning. No recordings during that time." Zora raised an eyebrow. "A convenient coincidence." "It's standard procedure," Wilson muttered. "Maintenance. Who knows about this window?" "All the security staff. It's no secret." Zora photographed the body from different angles, noting the specifics of the wounds. The blows were inflicted with violent force, but with a certain methodicality. This wasn't a random outburst of rage. Someone really wanted Neve to suffer before she died. "Did anyone visit her? Relatives? Friends?" "No one," Wilson answered. "She was a loner. Just a cellmate. I need to talk to her, and the staff on duty last night." Zora spent the next 2 hours examining the crime scene with the forensics team. Blood samples were taken. Fabric fibers were found that didn't belong to the inmates' uniforms. Particular attention was drawn to a shard of plastic near the body, possibly from a button or badge. After completing the initial examination, Zora went to the administrative block. Wilson provided her with a small interrogation room and Niyama Keita's personnel file. According to the documents, Niyama had been convicted 3 years ago of forging prescriptions for opioid medications. As a nurse, she had access to the system and created bogus prescriptions. Before her arrest, she lived in suburban Detroit. Parents deceased, no siblings. Characterization from prison. Disciplined but manipulative. "Detective Jallo?" There was a knock at the door. "I'm bringing in Layla Dubois, Keitha's cellmate." A tall, thin woman with close-cropped hair and a wary look entered the room. She moved with a tense grace, as if ready to defend herself at any moment. "Have a seat, Ms. Dubois," Zora said. "I need to ask you some questions about Neve." Layla sank into a chair with her arms crossed over her chest. "I know she's dead. The whole block is talking about it. When was the last time you saw her?" "Last night around 10 o'clock. She said she was picking up an extra shift at the laundry, wanted to earn extra privileges." "Was that a regular thing?" Layla shrugged. "Neve often took night shifts. Said she liked to work when it was quiet." "Were you two close?" "Before, yes. The last few months, not so much." Layla paused. "She's changed. She became secretive, often whispering with the other prisoners. And then suddenly they were getting special privileges, extra calls, better food. Zora stepped forward. Do you think she was trading something? Information, Layla answered quietly. Niamv. She knew how to get secrets, and using them. What kind of secrets? I don't know exactly. But she said she found a way to get some of the guards to do what she wanted. Especially the men. Layla lowered her eyes. Sometimes she'd come back with bruises, but she always said it was worth it. Did she mention anyone in particular on the staff? Elaine. She was careful, but one time I saw her hand a note to Warden Banks. He went pale when he read it. Zora wrote down a name. Do you know if Neve had any health problems? Layla suddenly tensed up. Why are you asking? It's a standard question. We need to get a full picture. The cellmate was silent for a long time. Then she spoke up. She was HIV positive. She didn't advertise it, of course. I found out by accident when I saw the medication. She made me swear not to tell anyone. Zora felt the first piece of the puzzle click in her head. How long had she known about her status? A long time. Before prison, I think. She'd been getting therapy regularly. After talking to Layla, Zora met with the prison doctor, Dr. Omolu. Tall, with a neatly trimmed beard and tired eyes, he confirmed the information. Yes, Ms. Keita was HIV positive. She was on antiretroviral therapy. Her condition was stable. He was silent. This is privileged information, Detective. I understand that. But it's part of a murder investigation now. Zora looked at her notes. Did any of the staff know about her status? Only the medical staff, Doctor, Omolu replied. And possibly the higher administration. We maintain confidentiality. Doctor, I need your help. Zora lowered her voice. Have there been any recent cases of any of the staff contacting you about possible exposure to HIV, preventive treatment, tests? Dr. Omolu visibly tensed. I can't discuss other patients. This is a murder investigation, Zora insisted. If it's related to Neve Keita, I need to know. The doctor sighed heavily. About a month ago, one of the wardens asked for HIV post-exposure prophylaxis. I can't give you a name, but it's in the medical records, which you can get with the appropriate warrant. Zora nodded, mentally noting another step in the investigation. After speaking with the doctor, she returned to the administrative block, where she requested the duty roster for the past month. The head of security, a stocky woman named Gloria Turner, printed out the charts. Here, all the shifts for the last 30 days. Anything in particular you're looking for? I'm not sure yet, Zora replied, looking through the documents. Tell me about the rebooting of the surveillance servers. Does that really happen every week at the same time? Yes, every Monday from 4:15 to 4:35 in the morning. It's to update the system and clear the cache. Otherwise, the system starts to glitch. And all the employees know about this window? Of course they do. It's standard procedure. This is when we step up physical patrols. But not on this night, Zora noted. According to the records, there was only one guard in Block D, where the laundry room is located. Gloria frowned. That shouldn't be the case. Let me see. She looked through the documents. Indeed. That's odd. There's usually two. We need to find out why there was a change in the schedule. Zora noted the discrepancy in her notebook, then moved on to the personnel list. Who's Derek Banks? Probation worker. Been with us about 7 years. Good employee, no major complaints. Was he on duty last night? No, he had the weekend off. He'll be back tomorrow for the day shift. His wife works here too, right? Gloria raised her eyebrows in surprise. Yeah, Tamara Banks. She's in Women's Block B. How'd you know that? I just noticed the same last name on the list, Zora lied. How long have they been married? 10 years, maybe. They met here at St. River. Tough couple, no problems. Zora made a mental note to check both Bankses more thoroughly. There are no coincidences in murder investigations. she spent the rest of the day interviewing staff on duty the night of the murder and other inmates who knew Neve. Gradually, a picture emerged. A smart, cautious woman who used information as currency in the prison economy. Some feared her, others sought her help, but no one seemed to really know her. By late afternoon, Zora returned to the Tontitown police station, carrying copies of all the documents she had collected and the preliminary forensics report. In her office, she laid out the materials on a blackboard, connecting the dots with strings: Neve Keita, HIV, prison staff, CCTV window. A phone call interrupted her musings. "Detective Jallo," came the voice of the lab technician. "I have preliminary results on your case. We've checked St. River Prison's medical records for the last month. One of the staff members, Warden Derek Banks, did indeed seek post-exposure prophylaxis for HIV 3 weeks ago. According to the dates, he had taken an HIV test last week and tested positive." Zora felt her pulse quicken, a new piece of the puzzle falling into place. "Thank you." Cell phone rings. "Can you send me that data?" "Already sent it to your work email." "One more thing. We found fibers from the guard's uniform on the victim's clothing. Not a prisoner, a guard." Zora tapped her pen on the desk thoughtfully. "I see. What about fingerprints?" "Nothing concrete yet. Too many overlaps. But we're working on it." After hanging up, Zora went back to the board. Now there's a new, clear connection. Neve Keita and Derek Banks, an HIV-positive inmate, and a recently infected warden. Too clear a coincidence to ignore. She made a note to interview Derek Banks first thing tomorrow morning. And then his wife, Tamara Banks, who, by a strange coincidence, had access to the cell block where the murder had occurred. Fibers from the guard's uniform on the victim's body. Murder during a scheduled cell shutdown. An inmate infecting a warden with a deadly virus. The motive was beginning to emerge with frightening clarity. Tuesday morning at the Tontitown police station began for Zora Jallo with a cup of strong coffee and a review of reports. Sleep brought no rest. The murder of Neve Keita wouldn't let go of her mind. Too many coincidences, too clear a motive. At 8:30 in the morning, Derek Banks, a tall man with broad shoulders and dark circles under his eyes, walked into Zora's office. He lowered himself nervously into the chair across from the detective. "Thank you for coming in, Mr. Banks," Zora began. "I'm investigating the murder of inmate Neve Keita. I understand you knew her?" "Of course I did. I'm a warden in the cell block where she was serving her sentence." "I know all the prisoners," Derek answered quickly. Zora switched on the recorder and opened the file. "Minus Mr. Banks. Where were you on Sunday night to Monday night between midnight and 6 a.m.? "At home," Derek said. "I had the weekend off." "Were you alone?" "Yes. No. The neighbors can confirm that I was home. Watching TV late, lights on." Zora noticed his uncertainty. "How would you characterize your relationship with Neve Keita?" "Standard," Derek answered too hastily. "Like with all prisoners. Professional." Zora looked at him silently, then pulled a medical report out of a folder. "Minus Mr. Banks. 3 weeks ago, you came in for post-exposure prophylaxis for HIV. And last week, you tested positive. Is that correct?" Derek's face turned pale. He opened his mouth, then closed it, swallowed, and finally spoke. "I don't have to answer questions about my health. It's privileged information." "Under normal circumstances, yes," Zora agreed. "But right now, it's part of a murder investigation. Neve Keita was HIV positive, and I think you knew that." Derek clenched his fists. It's a coincidence. Let's be honest, Mr. Banks. You had an intimate relationship with Neve Keita that exposed you to HIV. That's motive." "Motive for what?" Derek almost screamed. "I didn't kill her!" After a heavy pause, Derek admitted, "Yes, we had a relationship. It started about 6 months ago. I know I broke the rules, but I didn't know about her status. I swear I didn't know." "When did you find out?" 3 weeks ago. I started having symptoms, so I went to the doctor. That's when I started the prophylaxis, but it was too late. Derek chuckled bitterly. The test came back positive. Did you talk to Neve about it? Yes, right away. She laughed at me, said it was my fault. Does your wife know about this? Derek hesitated. Elaine, I couldn't tell her. Minus Mr. Banks, do you know anything about the blackmail that Neve was doing in prison? Derek shuddered. She threatened to tell on us, said if I didn't bring her things from the outside, cigarettes, makeup, cell phone, she'd tell the warden everything. And did you? Sometimes, Derek admitted. Little things, nothing serious. After Derek left, Zora invited Tamara Banks in for questioning. An hour later, a trim woman with short, curly hair and a sharp, assessing gaze appeared in her office. I'm investigating the murder of inmate Neve Keita, Zora began. Did you know her well? Not really. Tamara shook her head slightly. She's not on my cell block, but of course I knew of her. Mrs. Banks, where were you on Sunday night to Monday night? On duty. Night shift in Women's Block B, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So you say you were at your post in Cell Block B all night? That's correct. And never left the cell block? I went out for a short break around 4 a.m. for about 15 minutes. That's authorized by protocol. Where exactly did you go during your break? The staff lounge, coffee, a snack. Mrs. Banks, what do you know about your husband's health? Tamara froze. I don't see what this has to do with the murder. There's nothing wrong with Derek's health as far as I know, she said coldly. He has a routine checkup in a month. He's always been healthy as an ox. How would you describe your relationship with your husband at the moment? Normal, Tamara answered quickly. Like all married couples, 12 years together there are ups and downs. Have you ever had any personal contact with Neve Keita? No, never, Tamara answered firmly. Like I said, she's not on my block. After Tamara left, Zora returned to St. River Prison. Warden Gloria Turner confirmed that Tamara was indeed on duty the night of the murder. Here's the attendance log, Gloria said, pointing to the screen. Tamara checked in at 21:58 and checked out at 6:05 in the morning. And here it says she took a break between 4 and 4:20 in the morning. That coincides with when the surveillance servers were rebooted. Yes, indeed, Gloria frowned. We usually try not to take breaks at that time, but sometimes we have to. Zora found security guard Michael Johnson, who Tamara said was supposed to confirm her alibi. Yes, I saw Tamara in the break room, he confirmed. Sometime around 4 a.m. How long was she there? Not long. She grabbed a coffee and left almost immediately. Said she had to go to the infirmary to get some pills for her headache. When was the next time you saw her? Just this morning at guard change around 6 a.m. Zora decided to talk to other inmates who knew Neve. A prisoner called Shakira Ellington was surprisingly candid. Neve? Oh yeah, she was a real bitch, Shakira said. Had a knack for finding dirty secrets and using them. What kind of secrets? All kinds. Who was sleeping with who was sneaking drugs, who was taking bribes. She had eyes and ears everywhere. Did you know about her relationship with Derek Banks? Everybody did. Not her first security guard, but definitely her most consistent. It went on for almost 6 months. And his wife, Tamara Banks? The senior warden? Shakira was visibly tense. I don't know. Maybe she had a hunch. She's a tough woman. Everyone's afraid of her. Even the guards. Zora decided to check the medical records again. She called Dr. Omolu and asked him to confirm exactly when Derek Banks received his positive test result. The test was done last Thursday, and the results came back Friday morning. I personally notified him. Did he mention whether he planned to tell his wife? Yes, Dr. Omolu replied. He said he had to tell her the same day. I suggested that they both be referred to a psychologist for counseling. And did they go? Nonbada. Banks called me on Saturday, said the wife refused counseling. She was too upset. Zora frowned. Derek claimed he hadn't told his wife about his diagnosis. Another lie. Zora studied the layout of the prison and discovered that Block B to Block D was accessed through a service corridor designed to move staff in emergencies. This way required a special key that only the senior wardens had, like Tamara Banks. Zora then checked to see if Niev Keita was in the laundry room as scheduled. Shift supervisor Doris Wilson confirmed that fact. She volunteered, Doris explained. She said she wanted to earn extra privileges. Tamara Banks had access to that schedule? Of course, she's a senior warden. She can look at all the charts. Zora got the lab results back this evening. The fibers found on Niev's body were an exact match to the Saint, River Guard's uniforms, and there were traces of skin under the victim's fingernails, the DNA analysis of which had not yet been completed. Zora called Derek Banks in for a second interview. This time, she was direct. Minus Mr. Banks, you said you didn't tell your wife about your HIV status. But Dr. Omolu claims you told him on Saturday that your wife refused counseling after learning of the diagnosis. One of you is lying. Derek lowered his head, then said quietly, I lied to you. She knew. I told her Friday night. How did she react? She was furious, screaming, crying. Derek covered his face with his hands. Asked me where I got the virus. Yeah, I couldn't tell her the truth. I told her I didn't know. But could she have guessed? I don't know. Maybe. He looked up at Zora. Tamara's smart, and we've had problems for a long time. I've been unfaithful to her several times. With the prisoners? No, I mean, not with Nieve. Minus Mr. Banks. Your wife was on duty the night of the murder. Why did you lie when you said she was at home with you? Derek looked cornered. I'm confused. I don't remember exactly when she was on duty. You don't remember if your wife was home the night of the murder? Zora asked incredulously. I took sleeping pills, Derek blurted out. I hadn't slept much since I found out about the diagnosis. The doctor prescribed pills. I took 2 that night and passed out. I didn't wake up until the morning. And you didn't hear your wife leave for work? Non bother. I slept in the guest bedroom. We haven't slept together since I told her about the diagnosis. Zora looked at Derek closely. You're still lying, Mr. Banks. First about your relationship with Nieve, then about whether your wife knew about your diagnosis. Why should I believe you had nothing to do with the murder? Because I have no reason to kill her, exclaimed Derek. Yes, I hated Nieve for what she did to me, but I'm not stupid enough to risk everything for revenge. Could your wife have done it? Zora asked quietly. Derek froze, then slowly looked up. Tamara? He hesitated. Yeah, I don't know. She's very jealous. And if she found out about Nieve, if she realized that I'd caught it from her. He didn't finish the sentence, but Zora saw realization and fear in his eyes. Derek and Tamara Banks had both lied, but for different reasons. And now it was becoming clear that their lies were hiding a much darker truth. Wednesday morning began for Zora Jallow with an unexpected phone call. The clock read 6:30 when she was awakened by a phone call. Detective Jallow, she said sleepily. Detective, this is Officer Rivera from St. River. You asked me to let you know if we found anything related to Nieve Keita. We found her personal diary. Zora woke up instantly. Where exactly? Routine cell inspection. It was hidden in the mattress. Very small notebook, easy to miss. Don't show it to anyone. I'll be there in 40 minutes. Zora packed quickly and drove to the prison. On the way, she pondered the conflicting testimony of the Banks couple. Nieve's diary could be a clue. Officer Rivera, a young woman with an attentive gaze, was already waiting for her at the jail. She handed Zora a small, tattered notebook. Here you go, detective. It was carefully hidden in the slit of the mattress. Zora put on her gloves and carefully opened the diary. The pages were filled with small, neat handwriting. The first entries were dated 2 years earlier, shortly after Nieve's arrival at St. River. Niama kept systematic records of prison staff and inmates, names, foibles, secrets, Everything was meticulously documented. A special section was devoted to guards with whom she had intimate relationships. Among them was Derek Banks. The first entry about him was dated 7 months earlier. DB is promising. Married, insecure, easily manipulated, brings cigarettes, promised a cell phone, wants more, he'll get it if he brings what he needs. Subsequent entries became more and more personal, with details of meetings and what Derek did for her. And then, 3 weeks ago, there was an entry that made Zora freeze. DB found out about my status, freaks out, threatening. But what can he do? Tell his wife or his boss. Then everyone will know about us. He's trapped, and he knows it. I'll demand more, he's got nowhere to go. The last entry was made on Saturday, the day before the murder. Something's not right. DB is too calm. Says he's accepted the situation, but his eyes are cold. Also saw his wife in the hallway. She was looking at me strangely. Is he up to something? Or is she? We have to be careful. Zora closed the journal. So, Niev suspected that Derek or Tamara was plotting something against her, and she was right. Back in her office at the police station, Zora called the lab. Any results on the DNA from under the victim's fingernails? Yes, detective, the technician answered. We just finished analyzing it. The DNA belongs to a female, not an inmate. We compared it to the staff samples and got a match to Tamara Banks. Zora took a deep breath. Another piece of evidence. And the fingerprints from the crime scene? Lots of matches to different people. It's a public place. It's always crowded. But on the victim's neck, under the collar, we found a partial print that matched Tamara Banks' right index finger. Zora thanked the tech and hung up. It was time to check one more detail, Tamara's use of the pass the night of the murder. She contacted St. River's head of security and requested full records of the electronic access system for the night of the murder. An hour later, she received a file with a detailed report of all personnel movements. Examining the data carefully, Zora found what she was looking for. At 4:23 in the morning, well after the official start of her break, Tamara had used her pass to enter the service corridor connecting the blocks, and at 4:32 to enter Block D, where the laundry room was located. The return trip was not recorded, which meant that she probably returned by a different route, or the CCTV system was not yet operational at the time of her return. With this evidence, Zora was ready for the next step. But first, she decided to talk to Layla Dubois, Niama's cellmate. Perhaps she knew more than she had told in the first interrogation. Layla looked even more tense than last time. She nervously tugged at the hem of her prison shirt, avoiding looking Zora in the eye. Layla, I found Niamh's diary. Zora cut right to the chase. There's a note in it that she saw Tamara Banks in the hallway shortly before she died. That Tamara was looking at her strangely. Do you know anything about that? Layla was silent, looking down at the floor. Layla, I know you're scared, but Niamh was your friend. She deserves justice. What justice? Layla grinned bitterly. Niamh got herself into trouble, playing with fire. What do you mean? Layla finally looked up. Tamara Banks came to our block on Saturday. It was weird. She doesn't usually show up at our place. I heard her talking to Niamh. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was, threatening. What did Niamh do? Laughed in her face. She said something like, It's your husband's fault. Ask him how many women he's been with before me. Tamara left, but before she did, Layla swallowed. She said, You're going to regret this. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Because I don't want to end up like Niamh, Layla whispered. Tamara Banks is the senior warden. She has the power here. Who's going to believe me, a prisoner with 2 convictions against her? I will, Zora said firmly. And I have evidence to back up what you say. After talking to Layla, Zora was sure it was time to press charges. She contacted the prosecutor, presented the evidence, and obtained an arrest warrant for Tamara Banks. But before executing the warrant, Zora decided to talk to Derek one more time. If Tamara had really threatened Niamh on Saturday, Derek probably knew about it. Derek looked exhausted when he entered Zora's office. He immediately noticed the warrant on the desk. "You're arresting my wife." It wasn't a question, it was a statement. "I have hard evidence, Mr. Banks," Zora replied. Tamara's DNA under the victim's fingernails, her fingerprint on Neve's neck, electronic badge records showing she was in the laundry room at the time of the murder, and a witness who saw Tamara threaten Neve the day before she died. Derek slumped in his chair, covering his face with his hands. "Minus Mr. Banks, last chance to tell the truth. Did you know your wife was planning to kill Neve?" There was a long silence. Finally, Derek looked up, tears in his eyes. "I didn't know exactly, but I had a hunch." "Explain." "I got the test results back on Friday, and I told Tamara about the diagnosis. I lied at first, said I didn't know where I got it, but it was like she saw right through me." "It's that bitch from D Block, right? Neve?" she asked. And I couldn't deny it. I confessed everything. What happened next? Tamara was furious. I'd never seen her like that. Screaming, crying, breaking dishes. Then suddenly, she calmed down. Too fast. Said she had to think about it and went to her sister's. She didn't come back until Saturday night. She was calm, almost distant. Said she wanted to talk to Neve. Clear the air. "And you let her?" "I didn't think she'd hurt her," Derek exclaimed. Tamara had always been rational, reserved. I thought she just wanted to tell Neve what she thought of her. "But after her conversation with Neve on Saturday, you didn't suspect anything?" Derek lowered his eyes. "She came home all worked up, said that Neve had laughed at her, bullied her, that she'd take care of that bitch. I thought, I hoped it was just words. Anger. And when did you find out Neve had been murdered?" "Monday morning when I got to work. I knew right away. Felt it. But I couldn't believe Tamara had actually done it." "Why didn't you go to the police?" "Because I love her." Derek's voice shook. "Despite everything, I still love my wife. And I felt guilty. If it hadn't been for me, for my cheating, for my stupidity, none of this would have happened." Zora looked at Derek carefully. "Minus Mr. Banks, do you realize that by withholding information, you've become an accessory after the fact?" "Yes," he answered quietly. "I'm willing to be punished. But please understand, I didn't want anyone to die." Zora nodded and asked him to sign the statement. She then called 2 officers to arrest Tamara Banks. Tamara was on duty when Zora and the officers arrived at St. River. When she saw them, she knew immediately. "Not here," she said quietly. "Not in front of the prisoners." Zora agreed, and they walked to an empty interrogation room. "Tamara Banks, you are under arrest on suspicion of the murder of Neve Keita," Zora said formally. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Tamara listened to her rights with a stone face. When Zora finished, she calmly held out her hands for the handcuffs. "I want to talk to the detective alone," she told the officers. "Then I'll come with you." The officers looked at Zora questioningly. She nodded, and they walked out, leaving the door ajar. "Derek told you," Tamara said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. What was it?" "That on Friday, you found out about his diagnosis and that he'd been infected by Neve. That you came to threaten her on Saturday, and that he suspected you might harm her but did nothing to prevent it." Tamara grinned unhappily. He'd always been a weakling, couldn't even confess fully. What hadn't he confessed to? He knew exactly what I was going to do. Sunday night before my shift, I told him, "It ends tonight. She won't infect anyone else." And he just turned away and said, "Do whatever you want. I don't care." Zora wrote down the statement. "Tell me what happened in the laundry room." Tamara looked at her hands. "I knew about the servers rebooting, knew Neve would be alone in the laundry room, took a break and went there. She wasn't surprised to see me. It was like she was expecting me." "What did you tell her?" asked if she knew her HIV status when she slept with my husband. She laughed, said, "Of course she knew. Do you think I'm the first? Ask your husband how many prisoners he fucked before me. I'm just the first to give him what he deserved." Tamara clenched her fists, remembering. I hit her, hard. She went down, but kept laughing, saying horrible things about Derek, about me, about our marriage. I just, snapped. I remember clutching her throat, and she kept trying to get away, scratching. And then, all of a sudden, she just collapsed. "Do you regret what you did?" Tamara was silent for a long time, staring into the void. Do I regret killing a man? Yes. Do I regret stopping the woman who deliberately infected my husband with a deadly disease and bragged about it? No. She looked up at Zora. She was a monster detective, using people, manipulating them, destroying lives for fun, and no one stopped her. That's not for you to decide, Zora said quietly. I know. Tamara nodded. That's why I'm not resisting arrest. I've made my choice and I'm willing to be punished. Zora called the officers and they led Tamara away. She then returned to the station to finalize the report. The case was solved. The perpetrator had pleaded guilty. But Zora didn't feel the usual satisfaction of a job well done. Too much pain, too many ruined lives. In the evening, having completed all the formalities, she stood at the window of her office, looking out at the lights of Tonytown. The story of Neve Keita and the Banks couple was a story of betrayal, pain, and revenge. Each had made choices that led to tragedy. Niamh used her body as a weapon, manipulated people, and inflicted pain. Derek betrayed his professional duties and marriage vows and then became a silent accomplice to murder. Tamara allowed her anger and pain to push herself into the crime. Where is the justice in this story? Zora thought. The law would give Tamara 20 years to life in prison for premeditated murder. Derek would probably get a few years as an accessory after the fact. Neve had already paid the ultimate price. But was it justice, or just a mechanical application of the law to a complex tangle of human emotions and actions? Zora knew it was not her place to decide such questions. Her job was to find the truth, gather evidence, and bring the case to trial. And the fate of the participants in this drama is now in the hands of the justice system, which, for all its shortcomings, remains the best instrument of society for determining guilt and punishment. Zora gathered her things and left the station. Tomorrow would be a new day, a new case, new victims and perpetrators. And the story of Neve Keita and the Banks couple will be another reminder of how easily human lives can go off the rails when lies, betrayal, and the lust for revenge trump reason and the law. Stepping out into the evening air, Zora thought about the fact that there were no real winners in this story, only victims of their own and others' actions, their own and others' decisions. And justice, whatever it was, could not give them back what they had lost.